Okay, just a quick run through on some basic trig identities. So 1 minus cos squared. So that will just be sine squared, because sine squared plus cos squared is 1. And if you rearrange it... Okay, so 1 minus cos squared is equal to sine squared, because sine squared plus cos squared is 1. And then if you move the if you move the cos squared to the other side, then you end up with sine squared theta equals 1 minus cos squared theta. So therefore, 1 minus cos squared simplifies to sine squared. 1 minus sine squared will simplify to cos squared, because similarly, if you move the sine squared to the other side, then you end up with 1 minus sine squared, which will go to cos squared. 1 plus tan squared is just sec squared. I might just write the identities down here. You've got sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. And then you can rearrange those to get sine squared theta is 1 minus cos squared theta. Then you've got cos squared theta is 1 minus sine squared theta. So, that's all good. Then you've got sec squared theta equals 1 plus tan squared theta, and then you've got any rearrangement of that. And cosec squared theta is 1 plus cot squared theta. Now, additionally on that, tan theta equals sine theta on cos theta, and cot theta equals cos theta on sine theta. Also, what would be useful is when you have sec theta. Sec theta is 1 on cos theta, because if you look at the third letter rule, that's cos. And then if you do cosec theta can be changed to 1 on sine theta. Okay, so they're the identities that we'll be looking at and using. So if we've got 1 plus tan squared, that's sec squared. 1 plus cot squared, that is cosec squared theta. All right, so when we're looking at this next one here, 2 minus 2 sine squared theta, the best way to look at that is if you factorize out the 2, then you get 1 minus sine squared. But 1 minus sine squared is cos squared, so that's simplified now. The same with this one, we've got the square root, but if we factorize out the 4, we get 1 minus cos squared theta. 1 minus cos squared is equal to sine squared. The square root of 4 is 2. So, I'll just do that first. We'll go keep the square root there, and we'll go 4 sine squared, and then we go the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of sine squared is, making a few mistakes today. The square root of sine squared is just sine theta, because a square and a square root are just opposites, and they cancel each other out. All right, now we're doing 1 over 1 plus tan squared. 1 plus tan squared is sec squared theta. Go for the C. Okay, so that's cos squared. So 1 over sec squared will just simplify to cos squared. It's the reciprocal. So when you bring it up to the top, you just get cos squared. Okay, 1 on 1 plus cot squared. 1 plus cot squared is cosec squared. When you move that up to the top, you just get, using the third letter rule, it is the reciprocal of sine. So that will just be sine squared theta. Okay, and finally this one here, get a common denominator. 1 minus sine squared, 1 plus sine squared is 1 minus sine theta times 1 plus sine theta. That's a common denominator. You just times them together. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So this one you times by 1 plus sine theta, and this one you times by 1 minus sine theta. So you end up with 1 on 1 plus sine theta plus 1 times 1 minus sine theta. So when you open those brackets up, you end up with 1 plus sine theta plus 1 minus sine theta, and then that is all over. Now that's the difference of two squares. So it's a minus b, a plus b. That will end up being a squared minus ab plus ab, and then minus b squared. So it just ends up being a squared minus b squared. So that's going to be 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times sine is plus sine theta. 1 times minus sine is minus sine theta. And minus sine theta times plus sine theta is minus sine squared theta. You can cancel the sine theta out, and then you just end up with this one. The sine thetas will also go out. So you end up with 2 on the top and 1 minus sine squared on the bottom. Now 1 minus sine squared is equal to cos squared theta. And then if you move that up to the top, you get the reciprocal. There's the whole working out. You get the reciprocal. 2 on cos squared will give you 2 on cos squared theta. Okay, that will just, when you move it up to the top, it'll just be 2 sec squared theta, because that's its reciprocal. Okay, so let's just look at a 10th one. 4 on 1 minus cos theta plus 4 on 1 plus cos theta. Okay, so this is very similar. Get a common denominator. So the common denominator is 1 minus cos theta, 1 plus cos theta. You times the top by 1 plus cos theta. And then you go plus 4. And you times that one by 1 minus cos theta. So expand the brackets then too. So you get 4 plus 4 cos theta plus 4 minus 4 cos theta all over 1 minus 1 squared minus cos squared theta, because it's a difference of 2 squares. Those cos 4 thetas will cancel out, and you end up with 8 over 1 minus cos squared theta is sine squared theta. When you bring it up to the top, you end up with 8. It is the reciprocal of cosec squared theta. Okay, we're just going to look at another one. So 11. All right, so we're going to go sine theta over 1 minus sine theta over 1 minus sine theta on 1 plus sine theta. Okay, so if you get a common denominator, it's 1 minus sine theta, 1 plus sine theta. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So we times this one by 1 plus sine theta, and this one by 1 minus sine theta, because that's what we've times this by. We've times the bottom here by 1 plus sine, and the bottom here by 1 minus sine, because we've kind of crossed them over to get a common denominator. So the top line here would be sine theta plus sine squared theta minus sine theta plus sine squared theta. So on the bottom, you end up with 1 minus sine squared theta. And on the top, the sine thetas go out, and you get 2 sine squared theta. So on the top, you get 2 sine squared theta over cos squared theta, because 1 minus sine squared is cos squared. And then sine on cos is just tan, so you end up with tan squared theta. Okay, so looking at number 12. All right, so number 12, we're going to go sine theta, cot theta. Okay, all squared minus 1. Okay, so let's just look on the inside there. So cot theta is cos theta on sine theta, and tan theta, cos theta on sine theta, and tan theta is sine theta on cos theta, all squared. So then when you look at that, the sines will go out, the coses will go out. So we now have cos theta plus sine theta, all squared minus 1. So this is like a perfect square. So it's a plus b all squared, which is a squared plus b squared plus 2ab. So it'll be cos squared plus 2 times cos theta sine theta plus sine squared theta minus 1. Now when you have a good look at this one here, the cos squared and the sine squared, well, they add together and they will give you 1. So that's going to be equals 1 plus 2 cos theta sine theta minus 1. Now the 1 minus 1 will cancel out, and you just end up with 2 cos theta sine theta.